question and answer. I've gotten a lot of private messages off my YouTube channel, which is surprising, and I love it. It's great. Um, but so many that I picked out some of the better ones and thought I'd make a video. And I can't pronounce some of the names of the user accounts that asked me the question, so I'm going to omit all of them in fear of pronouncing someone's name wrong and upsetting someone. But for those, just a quick introduction. My trail name is Skywalker. I'm from South Carolina, and I started through hiking on March the 1st with my wife. If you see some of my earlier videos, you know that she went home a while back, and I miss her dearly. First question is, have you seen any wildlife, especially bears? And right now I am at Fontana Dam area. Technically I'm out on the one of the decks at the lodge, and that's about 160 some miles in from Springer. I have seen some birds and some mice. I have not seen a raccoon. I have not seen a squirrel. Nothing. So I'm sure I'm just about to start the Smokies. I don't know if you can see with the camera, but behind me is the start of the Smokies. Just pick them up real quick. And there's a good possibility that I will get to see some wildlife once I start that. The best hostel I've stayed at so far. Well, to give you a rundown, I've stayed at Neal's Gap, top of Georgia, Gooder Grove, and Creekside Paradise. And I can tell you that Neal's Gap at 30 miles in Georgia was nice and it was inexpensive. Not a lot of accommodations. You got a shower. They had a small kitchen with a microwave that you could use. The thing was, the outfitter, the store where you pay for your bunk, it closes at 5. And the night that I paid, we weren't full at 5. And hikers came in at 7 and 8 o'clock at night and grabbed a bunk and didn't pay. And I mean, I don't keep score, and I'm certainly not a tattletale, but it made me either feel like, why did I pay, or maybe I should have waited. I will tell you this, if you want to stay the night at Neal's Gap but don't want to stay in the hostel, if you go north past Neal's Gap, about 1/10 of a mile up, there are a lot of different places to put a tent or a hammock, which is outside of the property of Neal's Gap. You're completely legal, and you don't have to pay for a hostel stay. Let's see. I stayed at top of Georgia, Sir Pack-A-Lot's place. Very clean. It was their 2nd year of operation. No drugs or alcohol, and a lot of chaperones that stay on the property. I had a issue that I didn't bring forth about how much they promised me on the phone and then how much they actually charged me. Kind of left a little bad taste in my mouth, but maybe if I had pursued it with them, then maybe they would have addressed it. Maybe it's my fault for not saying anything. But if I was to go through that area again, I wouldn't be staying at top of Georgia. After that, I stayed in Franklin, which so far has been the best trail town I have ever seen so far. The people, the locals, the small community of Franklin absolutely love hikers. We bring a lot of money into their community, and it was phenomenal. I stayed at Gooder Grove, which is run by Colin and Dan, and they're fantastic guys. Very homey. The moment I hit the property, they gave me the grand tour, and it's kind of like mi casa su casa kind of thing. I just felt like I was at home, and it was a great experience. Very economical. Had to wait a long time for laundry, but they have only one laundry and one dryer, or one washer, one dryer, and it did take a while for that. But I mean, They had some clothes for me to wear while they were washing all of my clothes. Uh, Really nice place. We drank some beers that night. Um, I really liked it. And after that, I stayed at Creekside Paradise uh, in right outside of Robbinsville, North Carolina. And it's a bed and breakfast and a hiker hostel run by Cynthia and Jeff. They're in the AWOL book at the Yellow Creek Gap Road. I believe Yellow Creek Road, something like that. It's about 150 miles. Um, this is the best hostel I've stayed at so far. Very clean. It is their home. Um, very, very nice people. Uh, Easy to talk to. The conversation was great. I was there with 4 other hikers. I ended up staying 2 nights. Um, they have rooms where you can set up a tent. Um, the property is absolutely gorgeous. I posted a video with some property views and a look at one of the rooms that you can stay in, and of course the kitchen, and it's a log cabin style home. It's very beautiful. Um, I could go on and on about the place, but it is by far the best I've stayed at, um, and I would highly recommend it to everybody. Uh, how's the experience been? Well, my wife and I, we watched videos for the last couple of years, off and on, and especially real heavy about 4 months before we went. And I knew that the trail would be an awe-inspiring experience, and that I knew there would be, um, its ups and downs. But even at 160 some miles in, I could have never imagined that it would have been as good as it is now, as wonderful as it has been. The people that I've met, the experiences that I've had, the knowing that I was going to have to climb 3,500 feet over 6 miles coming out of the Nantahala Gorge, digging deep, and you know, knowing that it had to be done, and conquering those different peaks and summits, and coming, just the whole experience has just been transcendent so far. And if it's been this great at 160 miles, I'm excited to find out what it's going to be at 500 miles. Um, if you watch some of my videos, you know I started March 1st. This person asked, starting in early March, has it been cold? Um, I think we've been blessed with a pretty mild winter this year. There have been some nights it's gotten down to the teens, low teens, close to single digits. My water's frozen on me a couple of times because I forgot to put it in my sleeping bag. Um, I've got a Sierra Designs backcountry bed, um, and I use merino wool base layers, and I use mid layers, and if it gets real cold, I put a top layer on, and I wear a balaclava and a beanie and gloves. And to say that has it been cold? It's been cold, but I've never been cold in my tent at night sleeping. I've heard a lot of people complain though this year that even with their down and their puffy and all their clothes on in their tent, in their bag, they couldn't get comfortable enough to go to sleep because it was too cold. But it may be because I'm a warm sleeper, but I haven't experienced anything like that yet. Um, and I mean, I've still got a month to go through April now in order to really get out of the cold and into spring because of the altitudes of the Smokies. And even coming out of the Smokies, it's still going to be chilly, but you know, I don't foresee seeing anything below 10 degrees. And if I can stay above 10 degrees, then I'm golden. I'm good to go. How are my fellow hikers? Um, you know, there again, I've probably had, because I'm a slow hiker, I've probably had easily 200 or 300 hikers pass me in the last month, and I can only pick 2 that seem to be unsavory. And I'm not going to go into detail about it or their trail names or anything like that, but 2 out of 300, when you look at it percent wise, I mean, it's been fantastic. It's been awesome. I met people that were friends now on Facebook, and I will follow them for the rest of their hike when I can get internet or whatnot, that kind of thing. The stories that I've heard, the the reasons that some of these people are hiking is inspirational. The camaraderie that I've seen on the trail already, the people, got 3 meals left and give away a meal, knowing they're going to have to go skinny for a day. Just, just the compassion and the love on the trail for their fellow man has been kind of a way to reunite with humanity, for lack of better words to explain it. How am I eating? uh, when I started skinny, meaning I was going to be doing less than 2,000 calories a day. And after doing Hawk and then Sassafras Mountain in Georgia and then Justice in Georgia, I realized real quick that if I didn't start upping my calorie count, that I was going to be in trouble. So I turned what was already a heavy pack into a much heavier pack by now I carry a lot more food, and I'm eating closer to double the amount of calories in a day that I did when I started. Um, but for me, it helps me. And I use electrolyte supplements throughout the day because I'll drink on average about, especially if I got a lot of ups in the day, I'll drink on average almost 4 liters of water. So I have to use an electrolyte supplement. I use real high calories, lots of protein, and I use powdered peanut butter, so I use lots of protein. And it works for me. Now, I know guys that can use 1,500 calories over 2 to 3 days, and it works for them. And it's just one of those trial and error things where you have to get out here, you have to put some serious miles down, and you need to do it on some serious ups and some serious downs, and then decide what's going to work best for you. Have I thought of quitting? My first thought of actually quitting was Sassafras Mountain in Georgia. And I had expected maybe six to eight switchbacks, and there was closer to about 15 switchbacks going up, and they were steep. They were the kind of ups where you're hiking on your toes. You're not hiking flat-footed. And I mean, I started the trail out of shape to begin with. I worked on my feet for 8 hours a day for the longest time, but that was not enough to get me into shape. So it was an awakening. Uh, as somebody had told me, Sassafras Mountain was a surprise kick in the ass, and it was. And that's when I first thought of quitting. But the time that I really thought about calling my wife and telling her I'm done with this, I'm coming home, was in North Carolina when I hit Albert Mountain. It was the first fire tower. It was the 100-mile mark. And it it's a little brutal at spots, and it's real steep at spots. But I had a at first it was a breakdown and turned into a breakthrough. But I had stopped and I sat down on a rock and I contemplated everything, and my ibuprofens weren't working for me for that day, and my pack was heavy, and it just seemed like all the reasons why I should be at home were coming into my mind. And I looked down, and when my wife left, I changed out my backpack for hers because it fit me better. And her family had signed her backpack, and I looked down at all the signatures on her backpack, and I thought, for me, hiking this trail is it's bigger than me. And I had more in my emotional tank that I felt like if I was going to walk away from Albert Mountain, that it was more than walking away from the mountain. I was walking away from something that a lot of people, not just myself, believed in. And that's kind of what's been fueling my fire since then. And do I miss home? Well, I think everybody misses home. Yeah, I miss my kids and I miss my wife a lot. My wife has been instrumental in me being able to do this. As a matter of fact, if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be out here this year. And thank God with the advent of technology the way it is now, we can text at the very least on most nights. I get, with a Verizon phone, I get a signal on most nights unless I'm in a deep valley. Uh, so we're able to stay in communication a lot more frequent than we would if it were strictly just a payphone or a snail mail kind of thing. And she'll tell me, I wished you were at home, but I know you need to do this, and I want you to do this, and I do take her with me with every step that I take on the trail. But I haven't talked to a single person that has a family life that hasn't said that they don't miss home. Um, and it's just a byproduct of hiking the trail, and it's going to be a scenario, a situation, an issue that you're just going to have to deal with. Everybody misses home. Um, but those are the ones I wrote down, and most of my videos, this one I think I can get uploaded today because the lodge has a really good internet connection. But if you watch most of my videos, a lot of them are like 2 to 3 weeks behind of where I'm at right now. I've got tons of footage that I won't upload to YouTube. It's time consuming, and they're little clips. I'd have to use my video editor on my tablet and put them all together and whatnot. So don't lose faith. I'm still on the trail. Stay tuned. There's a lot more to come, but just they're kind of spread out. So anyway, thanks for watching.